Right, welcome back to Out of Pocket. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit further about student education loan crisis, and I've got two guests in front of me right now who are going to be talking a little bit further and analyzing it a bit further and perhaps even providing solutions. Now, sitting beside me right now is Dr. Chee Seng, who is the Vice President of University Tuanku Abdul Rahman, Student Development and Alumni Relations. And sitting across from me is Nirmala Supramanyam, who is the AKPK Financial Education Trainer. I'd like to thank the both of you for joining us on Out of Pocket today. Now, Dr. Thay, I'll start with you. Now, what would you reckon? Now, the thing is, student education loan crisis. Now, it's something kind of new to me, but I mean, could you sort of explain to us what exactly is the root cause of student education loan crisis?
Well, it all depends on what sort of study loan that we are talking about.
Right.
Now, if we are talking about the PTPTN, I really have to dissect that analysis and really have to delve further into it. After their graduation, they only have to pay 300 ringgit per month, you know. But unless they are talking about personal loans, where they have to pay a certain amount, and there are a lot of factors that are involved. It also depends on what sort of program they did when they were studying. I was told also at one time the banks did offer study loans, but which they don't offer now.
Yeah.
So it also depends on whether they took those study loans. All right. Even if it's not the banks, it could be some organizations or companies that offer so-called these study loans and all that sort of thing. So it is not just PTPTN per se, right? And subsequently, we also have to look at other factors after their graduation, the kind of commitment that they have. So to say solely that the so-called financial crisis that the individuals are suffering from is due to student loan, I would take that with a pinch of salt.
Right.
But assuming if that's true, that's true, then I would say that it all depends on the decision that they make when they first enrolled into a certain program.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, when you talk about the 300 ringgit payback for PTPTN, I mean, now, is that the actual basic amount that they need to pay, or does it depend on?
From what I understand, yes.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what courses they're taking. In fact, it could be something really expensive, but the basic minimum payback is 300 ringgit.
If they get first-class honors, it's converted into a scholarship.
Okay.
So they don't have to pay.
So they don't have to pay it back.
Yeah.
So in other words, you got to have some brains to get that scholarship. In fact, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Now, Nirmala, I'll direct this question at you. So should students sort of be blamed, for not taking responsibility to pay their study loan? I mean, when they graduate.
Yeah, I mean, in any kind of loans that we take, we are committed to pay out the loans. I mean, this is a standard thing. So, when they took up these loans when they were studying, they know they are going to pay this much when they graduate.
In fact, they're informed of it before. They're informed of it before they actually do it.
So it is kind of like a commitment given. And they're also informed that, like what the doctor said, that if they get a first-class honours, then it's converted to a scholarship. Though they are known, it's all transparent to them. So the commitment should be there.
Right.
And so I would say that the students need to have this in mind, that when I graduate, when I finish studying, I have this commitment in hand already. This is there. So before they try to commit for other kinds of loan, like buying a car, taking up a credit card or other personal loan, they have to look back, this is my first commitment already.
Right.
Can I afford going for the second loan or the third loan or not?
Okay.
So
or if anything, they should just avoid doing it altogether until they've paid it off, I think.
If they can afford. Normally when we talk about this loan commitment ratio, we would always say keep it within 40% of your salary. So if your PTPTN your study loan repayment is already 40% of your income, then you should wait till you settle this first, or until you can get a higher income before going for another loan.
Right.
So if they maintain this 40% ratio from their salary, they should be safe.
All right.
It
Dr.
will
Thay,
not be a burden.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree to it. Ultimately, the students and the family will have to be responsible. We have to understand, let's say if it's the PTPTN, it is not something which is eternally there, It has to be replenished from the loans given to previous students. They have to pay back. And this money would be given to other students, their juniors.
Yeah, true. I think in most education loans, it works that way.
Yeah. So it would only be fair, it would be very selfish that if I just take the loan and I don't pay back and all this sort of thing.
Well, generally, I think it is viewed as rather selfish if you just take the loan, you don't, sort of pay it back.
Having said that, ultimately it's the students themselves, and I would say in part families, they have to take responsibility, and they have to learn to make it a habit, to pay what is, to make a priority, to prioritize their financial commitment.
Right.
I think loans have to be paid. If they cannot afford to take up other commitments, I don't think they should.
Now, looking at our education institutions, I'll direct this question to you, Dr. Tay. Now, do you think our education institutions should be blamed, for making education an expensive affair, and resulting in students having to borrow money to study because parents cannot afford to pay or due to increasing cost of education? I mean, what's your view on that?
Right, we do have private institutions in this country, and it is an open market, right? And the private institutions, for them to survive, right, they do need financial backings.
Right.
Right. Now, we are not like in certain countries where education is free from kindergarten to university. There, the government pays for everything, right? So if the government has that policy, then that's fine. But we must understand that there are private institutions in this country,
Right.
and as long as there are no financial aid from the government, we have to survive on our own. And the money comes from donations, from the stakeholders, from our end stakeholders, which will be the students. So as to whether it's expensive or cheap, it all depends, as I said earlier on, the program that they sign up for,
Right.
and which institution they sign up for. I think Nirmala was saying if institution A is offering a program for, let's say for example, for $40,000, the same program you get from another institution for $25,000.
Exactly. I was just going to touch on that.
Why must you choose?
Why should you actually go for that
there is
particular
an
right?
alternative. You should seek for the alternatives.
Yeah.
Even if you can't afford the IPTS, then we have the government, public universities and public colleges. So why not look for alternatives that's affordable to
Right.
you?
Can I give a personal
Yeah,
example?
sure. Yeah. I mean,
After
this is
my
all about the personal
masters,
experience. Yeah.
I was looking for an opportunity to do my doctorate degree on my own expense,
Right.
not on any government scholarship or that sort of thing. So because I studied in University Putra, Malaysia, at that time was University Pertanian, Malaysia, for both my bachelor's and master's, I was thinking it would be good for me to go and study for my PhD in a different institution. So I went to a different institution, supposedly one of the premier universities in Malaysia, and the doctoral program was very expensive. It was and I knew I would not be able to afford it. Even if I were to take up a personal loan, I would be chained to the
You'll be changed to your
to that financial institution for God knows how many years.
Yes.
So I decided to continue to do in University Putra, Malaysia, which was offering at that time, all right, at a very much lower rate, something which I could afford. Ultimately, it's what you do with the degree at the end of the day.
It's not only that as well. I mean, you've got your parents, you've got peer pressure from your parents as well. I mean, you've got pressure from your parents as well because they seem to think that this education, that this university is actually the best there is. So they sort of push their students into it. Not push their students, push their children into it. In fact, because for them it's like this is the university for you to get your degree. It's recognized and stuff like that. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, unfortunately, that's true. But as I said, it's an open market.
It's an open market. Yeah,
so the parents, the only advice I can give is that they should look at different alternatives and also look at the long-term consequence.
Yeah, because the consequences is like if you tie this student to repay this study loan for the next 10 years or 20 years, he has got a lot to do. He's going to get married, he's going to have a family, he's going to buy a car, buy a house. So he's going to acquire, all these other commitments as well. So at the beginning itself, we look for something which is affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that word should be there. I mean, even with the families,
Right.
with the
Because
parents.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, when we talk about our families and so on, I know my family has always been pushing me to go to this university or go to that university. But I think at the end of the day, I think parents also need to be a bit savvy about the current, cost of living as well before they sort of push their children into it.
And also don't decide the profession that, I mean, the
Yeah,
studies
exactly.
that your children will study.
Don't decide the
because
profession straight away.
We
Yeah,
have
exactly.
cases like, I think, you push your child to study medicine, whereas he doesn't have the interest in it, and the money that you invest is not little.
Yeah, for
and
medicine especially, for example.
halfway they drop. They drop out.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
investment is gone there. And if as
they-
doctor was saying, you have to finish paying that loan
If
first.
they, for the first program, they take up the PTPTN loan and then halfway they drop out. If they take another course, they can't take another PTPTN loan until
They have
have
paid the current one, right?
But they are not working. They still have
They're
to
still
study,
studying.
and then they have to take up loans from other organizations,
see.
which can be difficult.
So now they're having two commitments.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, parents they need to be very savvy about what they're planning
Yeah.
to do. In
Yes.
fact, a lot of students out there actually just go in there, they do it, and then suddenly they feel like they don't want to do
They
it,
don't
and
want
then
to
when
do
they've
it.
taken this loan, this is the kind of thing that sort of builds
Burden,
up,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but a lot of institutions right now, they do offer career counseling, they do offer educational counseling. So students should take up that opportunity to study what is available and also...
It's something that they like as
Ah,
well,
yes,
rather than
something
just
that
pushing
they
them
like.
out.
yes,
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
that's right.
Right now, most of the time, now we talked about if you get a scholarship for PTPTN, that means you're exempted from actually having to pay it. But scholarships, at least in general, as far as general opinion is like is meant for students who have outstanding results, and hence create problems, to students who are not good enough. So there could be weaknesses in the system to evaluate the applicants on this account. So I'll direct this at you, Dr. T. Are you able to suggest to us, what can be done to improve, the scholarship system to help students who may not be academically good to sort of lessen their financial
First
burden?
of all, they don't take scholarship from PTPTN. It's a loan.
Right.
It's only converted to a scholarship if
They have-
do
they
well,
produce, right.
At the end of the program, they get a first class honors. And I think we have to understand this concept of scholarship. The concept of scholarship is that you are given a financial aid if you are a good scholar.
Student, right.
There's no point paying for someone who can't study. It's bad investment for any or company or even the country itself. Why do I have to pay out 30,000, 40,000 if I know you can't study? You must well take up another program, a technical subject or that sort of thing. So, in my personal opinion, the scholarship should remain the way it is
It should
always
be,
be,
right.
which is offered to those who can study. Now, whether some scholarships have been wrongly given to individuals, that is not the fault of scholarship. It is the fault of how they are administered.
And administered, okay.
That's up to that particular company or organization or government ministry or that sort of thing.
Right, okay.
So it is an administrative
So
problem.
basically you're saying is that the scholarship should remain the way it is right
In my
now. yeah.
opinion, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So no, that's fine. So the thing is, now this could be directed to the both of you. Now, do you think, in your opinions, do you think our graduates' monthly salary is sort of caught up with the urban cost of living?
I would say that, in my opinion, I would say that we should not look, of course, the urban cost of living is high, but what we should focus here is the financial cash flow management. Because if you're going to just speak on the salary, if you do not have that basic of cash flow management, good cash flow management, then no matter how much you earn, it's not going to be enough.
Right.
It's never going to be enough.
So does it boil down to actually financial education,
financial
in fact?
education. You see, you have to manage with what you get and what you're going to spend. So this is where your priority comes between your needs and your wants. So you need to identify what are your needs first, right? So you need to identify what are the wants and what are the needs. So what can you reduce, what you should pay, what's your commitment there. And so this is where the cash flow management comes. If we do not have this basic, no matter how much the student earns, even if he's going to earn, because I've seen my clients were earning like about 2,000, 3,000 a month are also in problem, and I've also seen my clients who are earning 30, 40,000 a month are also in problem. So where is that enough?
So
thing
what
that
is
you're,
happening there
yeah.
exactly? So it's a question of if I have a lot more money, I'm going
more.
to spend more. In
Yeah.
fact, right? Okay, and same applies for even a graduate who's
Yeah.
earning about 2,005. In fact, so I mean that would be one of the factors. Are there any other factors apart from the monthly salary that can, you know?
I mean, we would say like your cost of living. Of course, we
Cost of
have
living is one,
inflation,
right?
right? Yeah, we have inflation, but I would still go back to your
What your needs and
yeah,
wants
what
is,
your
right?
needs and your wants. Yeah, you can always live. You have to live within your means here. You have to know what can you afford prior to you spending.
Okay. All right, now let's look at the young graduates now. I mean, some of our young graduates sort of face difficulties, you know, like in getting a job or being choosy about the job they want, you know, and they rather sit around and do nothing instead of finding ways to sort of earn a living. I mean, that's unfortunately the situation that we have right now. You know, could this be the result of sort of like their parents who have been protecting them too much, overprotective, you know, sort of showering them a little too much, you know, providing them needs and wants, and you know, they end up not having to worry, you know, what they have to work, you know, to pay off their study loans. I mean, what's your view on this particular?
I think it is true. I do know of cases where young graduates, fresh graduates, who prefer to work, to find a job near their homes rather than to go
Travel.
elsewhere.
Right,
You know, but now because of the kind of employment situation that we are in, it's very difficult to find a job within hop, skip, and jump from your house and this sort of thing.
Most of them have to travel quite far, in fact, yeah.
I do agree that there is something with the parental guidance in our current situation.
Right.
I don't blame the students. I don't blame the young children. The parents have to take some responsibility.
I mean, they cannot be too choosy at their first school because one, you have just your paper qualification there, but you do not have your experience there. They should take this opportunity at the very young age to gain as much experience as they can. This is value added to them.
Yep, exactly.
So I mean, so they should not choose as long as it is a legal job and
it's paying whatever they're paying, and they're living within their means.
Living within their means. I think why not?
Okay.
But it is true. I do know of cases where parents actually overprotect their children. Very unfortunate. But as far as education in the university is concerned, we can only do so much.
Right.
It's not our job to intrude into your personal life.
Exactly. I mean, you're there to just do whatever you need to do.
Actually,
but
the good advice would be, I think parents should actually let go.
Let go and sort of educate them in some way or another to be, you know, taking responsibility for a lot of the things that they do. Now, in our next segment, which is like finding solutions and right strategies to manage loans, this is the next one we're moving on to now. Now, according to a recent survey, now those in the 24 to 29-year age group, were found to have the most serious debt problems. Now, the main reasons for this are, you know, outstanding car loans, like you said. You've got your housing and personal loans, like credit cards and, you know, study loan. So, what would you say are some of the effective money management strategies, you know, to help, you know, our young graduates to settle their debts without having to borrow more money from the bank? I'll direct this at you, Nirmala.
All right. Currently, there are many ways. Okay, if you have a problem already, and you know, first and foremost, you need to list down your problem. You need to admit.
You need to admit that you have a problem, right?
I think this
denial is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, and that's where everybody fails. And we always think that we can manage, and we push it down the carpet. Say, okay, I can manage this month and stuff like that. But we need to admit. And once we've admitted, okay, list down the debts that you have. All right, analyze it. Talk to your family members. See whether if they can help you out with it. Or talk to your banker or the financial institutions that you have borrowed with. See whether if you can restructure or reschedule the debt, not by taking a new loan.
Right.
Some of us have the habit of like, you know, you take a
loan to pay off your debts. Exactly right.
So that's what we do. Say, don't dig more holes. You know, just like we are trying to cover them. But we also have our agency, AKPK, agency which is under Bank Negara, and we do provide this debt management program. For those who are already in problem. They're most welcome to come to our office. We will look through their budget, their cash flow, and all their their loans. We'll work out a term for them, a win-win situation with the bank, a restructured policy, and we'll put them in the program with us. So they'll be like paying through us.
Right. But Dr. Teh, I mean, do you have situations like in university, like in Utar, for example, where students suddenly feel that they can't cope with having to pay and everything? Do you have anything that sort of helps them?
We do have. We do have emergency cases.
Right.
So we do have what we call as a bridging loan. It's a kind of short-term loan. and they borrow the loan, and once they have come out of that crisis, they'll pay back the loan.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have cases such as
All right.
this.
So it's just, I mean, this is basically standard for all universities, I take it, or is
I'm
it
not
just
sure. I'm not sure if
but
the
for Utah,
other
you have it,
universities,
right?
but
Okay.
for Utah, yes.
Okay. Now, these days, I mean, looking at young graduates as well, I mean, young graduates obviously, are kind of impatient. I could probably relate to that. I was probably impatient at one point or another, to keep a job for a few years. I mean, they want to keep job hopping from one to the other because they think that after 1 year, oh, I've got experience, I can get a higher paying job, something like that. So they prefer to do, what they have passion to do business for. And this comes back to what we were saying, don't be picky or choosy. They can make a quick, or even try to make a quick buck, all right, so easy money. So, I mean, looking at what is your advice to these graduates so that they can still sort of pursue their dreams but have the sense of financial responsibility to basically, pay off their loans?
I would say that, job hopping, yeah, it is a trend, but before you job hop, you gain enough experience. Yeah, once you have the experience and you have the skills and the knowledge with you, you will be in demand. Yeah, so if you have the right experience, the right knowledge and everything, if you job hop, of course it's for a betterment, that's okay. But if you have your commitments there, you have to job hop and you have to have a job before quitting here first. That's the kind of risk.
Yeah, because I know a lot of instances where people just job hop and they don't have any backup in the process.
Yes,
That's
you
another
have
problem.
to have that planning. Okay, what if that doesn't work out? What am I going to do with this loan? So normally we would say is emphasize your savings. Yeah, saving. So what we would say is like, you know what's your monthly expenses. So we have this emergency buffer fund that we call. So save up 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So if there's something to go, you can still survive. If let's say your job doesn't work out and you have to look for another job, so you can still survive on these emergency funds, right? So you have to strengthen this fund first. You have to build up these funds first before you decide to move on.
Okay. What do you reckon about that? Yeah?
I agree.
Right.
I agree. Ultimately, the individual has to take that responsibility.
Right.
I think most probably they think they have a backup from their families or family members. I don't know. Of some people, they actually borrow from friends.
Yeah, they
survive.
do. Yeah, to survive, exactly. Yeah, I've seen instances
I don't think
like
that's
that.
a very good attitude.
Right.
Well,
not to the point that you exploit it. I mean, there's a fine line there.
I do know a few cases where they do.
Right.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want to exploit it to the point where you're still borrowing and then you owe them in the process. So obviously there has to be a fine line there, right? Now, obviously it's not good for young people to experience financial difficulties at such a young age, but it's just something that they somehow need to learn how to manage themselves. So such experiences affect them emotionally, sort of mentally, and can lead them to do things that are unlawful, like stealing or borrowing from people, loan sharks and stuff like that. So can you share with the audience, what kind of help is available out there for young people to seek? And now, apart from AKPK, what other kinds of help is available to them at no costs? Is there such a thing?
I would say that AKPK is free.
Okay,
yeah,
so that
is free.
right, okay.
We do provide financial educations. Our stories are on the web, and we are also on Facebook, so that we can reach out to the youngsters. And we have created this new program called Power, where we actually want to empower these youngsters with the knowledge. So this program is a bit different because we talk about cash flow management. Everybody talks about cash flow management.
Right.
But we also want to tell them about the borrowings that you're going to take, like you're going to take a higher purchase. How can you save from that? How can you save from your loan? Credit cards, you're taking a credit card. How can you save from it? And also housing loans. So it's just not saving from your daily expenses, but it's also saving from these loans that you're going to take up.
So basically, AKPK offers this pretty much free, right?
Yeah. So and we have these programs. We run these programs every weekend at our office, every Saturday. So everybody is welcome to go to our website and register or call our toll-free number to attend the program free of charge.
So you offer free financial advice, and basically, and you also do an assessment of what they.
Yeah, and we are also out to universities and colleges, especially for the final year students, where we run this program, so that we can educate them prior, before they actually go to work, before they actually spend.
Okay, right. We're just going to do a couple more questions before we wrap it up here. Now, just would you, I mean, most young workers admit to having little or absolutely zero financial knowledge, okay? Now, only 2.7% of them, the respondents that, of the survey said that they had strong financial knowledge, which is actually very low, 2.7%, while an alarming 43% had poor knowledge of personal finance. So, would you agree, I mean, this is for both of you, of course, now do you agree that our schools and tertiary education institutions must provide personal financial education to our students, before they leave our education system so that it's easier for them to sort of plan themselves properly? Do you think that financial education should be a must in schools?
Well, I think financial management training can be incorporated in our school curriculum. It is possible, but it can be taught implicitly rather than explicitly in universities as well. I speak only for Utar. We do conduct workshops and trainings, but it's up to the students to sign up ultimately, and they do pick up these skills if they're able to pick up implicitly through the various topics which are embedded in our curriculum. Yeah.
Right.
So,
do you think the government should actually also sort of make that a priority for institutions as well?
I think, in my opinion, academic institutions should have that academic freedom to make choices.
Right.
So it's really up to the institutions themselves to make a decision whether they want to make it compulsory or not.
All right. Okay, in the minutes that we have left, I mean, what would be your advice now? I mean, our viewers out there are probably young viewers as well. They're probably, wondering how they can probably solve their problem. What would be your advice to them, in the long run, in terms of planning themselves, in terms, financially?
I would say that first and foremost, we need to analyze where we are.
Right.
We need to do that, right? So instead of like accumulating your debts or looking for other alternatives to settle this, and what you should do, you should sit down and analyze, get help, seek professional help. Yeah, if you can't manage it on your own, seek professional help. There are a lot of books out there also, on the internet, on the web. They can actually read up a lot. Yeah. So instead of like just focusing that I'm just carrying on my life, it just goes on like that. I can just manage it. Instead of just saying that, try to focus back on what are your dreams there.
Right,
you have to draw a line. You have to say, okay, this is what I want to buy in the next 3 years. This is what I want to get in the next 5 years, and this is what I want to do when I retire. So that kind of plan should be there, and seek professional help. Yeah, if you can't do it on your own, seek for professional help. You can come to AKPK, or you can look for other financial planners. You look for the right help and look for the right materials.
Okay, Dr. Tay, your parting words?
I would say saving is actually a habit formation behavior.
Right.
So the old school of that piggy bank, start small, but form that habit of saving.
Right.
I think they should also see long term. I think every individual, be it student or non-student, should start saving.
Okay.
We will always say that you start saving for your retirement with your first paycheck.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's the proverbial saying. From when you start your first job. In fact, well, that's about all the time we have for this edition of Out of Pocket. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Tay and Nirmala, for giving us your insights and exactly your solutions as to how young graduates can actually sort of save and obviously plan themselves, in the future. And that's about all the time we have for this edition of Out of Pocket. Hope you've learned quite a fair bit with regard to a loan crisis and exactly how to plan yourself for all our young graduates out there. So we'll see you soon in the next episode of Out of Pocket.